some of us, yes, live on our homes our whole entire life independently and die peacefully in our beds. But that's the minority. That's like rare. That's not what happens to the most of us. Most of us have a health event, a significant health event as part of our aging. And that means that we need to change what we're doing. Either you're going to be in control and kind of driving where this plan happens, or something's going to happen and the plan's going to happen to you. So
Yes.
you're going to fall. You're not going to be able to get upstairs. You're going to have a broken hip. Now what are you going to do? Now what are your kids going to do? They're going to make quick decisions for you, and you're not maybe going to be able to get back into your house. And you don't want to be in that kind of situation.
This month in our Aging Well at Home series, we're focusing on planning ahead and getting started. For many adults, aging at home is a great option, but doing that safely and successfully, it takes a planned support and the right resources before a crisis happens. Today, we're talking about one of the most important parts of aging in place is community support services and the role that they play in helping older adults maintain independence. I'm joined today with Elizabeth Williams, Executive Director of Mountain Aging Partners. Elizabeth leads Mountain Aging Partners in helping older adults and caregivers connect with the support, services, and resources that they need to age well in their home or even in their communities. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about Mountain Aging Partners?
Sure, I have been working in aging services for 25 years or so, and I got into this work because I was in a transition period and I was looking to make a change in my career, and I started supporting my mom, who was the caregiver for my grandmother. So my grandmother got diagnosed with cognitive issues. She was a lifelong nurse. She wanted to age in place and age in home. She didn't want to end up in a facility. And my mother became her caregiver during that time when my mother was still working. So seeing that experience for my mom as the caregiver and for my grandmother just really pushed me towards this work. And I was thinking about maybe occupational therapist or something, but I walked into Adult Day and I was like, oh, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to be doing. And I've been here ever since. My Mountain Aging Partners has Adult Day in Henderson and Buncombe County. We also do Meals on Wheels in Henderson County and a community dining program. And we do information and resources. That's a helpline. So if you're in Henderson or Buncombe County and you're an older adult, call us. We want to be that first person that you connect with. There's a lot to learn about aging and aging in place, either if it's for you or for someone you're taking care of. And we really, really, really want to make that journey as simple as possible. So love to help people, guide people through this. And so that's what we do at Mountain Aging Partners.
Wonderful. Elizabeth, that's a great jump off to our first question. Is what are the first steps that somebody should take for their loved ones or even for themselves, as you said, about aging confidently and securely at home?
Yeah, so a great question. That first step is just awareness that you do need a plan. Aging in place, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intention. And the first thing is I would look at, there's 3 areas to start looking at. So the first one is your home, the second one is your health, and the third one is that support system. And so looking at your home, is it safe? Is it accessible? And there's lots of resources and checklists, and there's lots of lenses that you can look at with your home. The next one is your health. Do you have any current or anticipated health needs? Are you doing all the things to be taking care of your health? And that third is who is part of your circle, your family, your neighbors, your community supports. So those are the first thing is looking at all 3 of those areas. The second is then connecting early with local resources. So many communities have organizations like ours, Mountain Aging Partners, that offer information and assessments and guidance at no cost. There's so many aging professionals in the community that want to help and share information. There are events happening all the time. So just start looking and start connecting. Churches, community colleges, healthcare systems. You can follow our Facebook page as one way to see what events is happening, but there's also tons of events happening, so start connecting with that. And the third thing that I would say to someone is you don't have just start small. You don't have to solve everything. You don't have to do everything. It's pretty overwhelming. I'm 56, and I'm starting to make those choices and make those steps right now. Just one step though, just one thing a month is great. So install the grab bars, set up medication reminders, enroll in a plan. Any of those things can make a big difference, so start now.
That's great advice, and I love that you talk about starting small and the 3 different components because so many times people start when there's a crisis. And so, like you said, starting before that and just getting those puzzle pieces in place, those are great. What other mistakes do you see people make besides the obvious, "A crisis has happened, we need to do something"? What other mistakes are common?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's really the biggest one is just that crisis, is people are just not planning, they're not intentional. They're not looking at it, they don't want to be looking at it, they don't wanna be making hard decisions, and so they don't, and they wait for the crisis, and then that ends up with a hospital stay or a fall. You have to make quick decisions with limited options, it's often more expensive, more stressful, and you don't have the desired outcomes. Another mistake is how much support I think people think they'll need over time. It's so hard. There's so many things that could go wrong as we age, right? And so it's
Mhm.
easier to just be like, "Oh, I'm fine now, and my plan is to stay strong for the rest of my life." I like to do, like, the worst case scenario. So that might not be what happened, but just put that worst case scenario lens on. What would happen if I couldn't drive? Like, what would happen if I couldn't get my driver's license? What would happen if I can't go up the steps anymore? What would happen if I'm not able to physically do things for myself? So start looking through that worst case scenario lens. And again, small steps to just do little things to make your home ready for you to age, to make your body ready for you to age, or to have that support system that's there to help you age. The last thing I would just say that is you don't have to do it alone. There are systems and programs and professional designed to help. So again, now's the time. Engage early. Don't wait for the crisis.
So we both are have aging parents. And what would you say to your best friend or someone that has an aging parent that are the adult children? What would you say to them, which is obvious about making a plan? But what else? What other advice, if you could share?
Yeah, so I there's 2 things I often turn people towards Being Mortal, the book that I think is just a great primer on the healthcare system and our own mortality and starting to be able to look at it and ask questions. I also love The Conversation Project, so it is a nonprofit organization online. They have the conversation spelled out for you, like how to start the conversation. And it's either me as the aging parent trying to look at it myself, or it's me, the aging parent, wanting to talk about it with my son or daughter, or it's me, an aging person, wanting to speak to my spouse about it. Or you can flip that, and they have conversation scripts for if you are the son or daughter and you need to talk to mom and dad about it, or you are the spouse and you having to talk to your spouse about it. So it's a great place to start. They have great questions. They dig into all the things that you might not think about. And what it really is what does aging look like for you? What do you want it to be? They talk about end of life, and I say all of us are at our end of life, right? Just small little things of having clarity on. So for me, my end of life, I want to still be able to connect outside. Like I want a window. I want to be able to see outside. So if I going to the hospitals may be okay, but if I'm not being able to look outside, if I don't have a window, I want you to drag me out to the parking lot. I don't wanna be there. So, small little things can make a big difference of, like, looking at that lens of what you want.
The book was
Being being mortal being
okay,
mortal,
and
and
the
The Conversation Project, and
conversation
you can
project.
Google both
Okay,
of those and find great information around it. So that first part is just getting real clarity on what you need and what you want, and then having those conversations with the next person. So those are the first 2 steps. And then the third thing is start talking to your financial advisor, start talking to an elder law attorney, and you can pay lots for these folks, but you can also there's also financial reasonable ways to get this support. So start having those conversations and then putting things in place.
smart, so smart. So many times I don't know if it's a mountain mentality or if it's our
Yeah.
pride here in the mountains, but so many times people are like, "I don't need help." They're very stoic that they can do it themselves. So I love when you say we're all aging because you're exactly right. And having those honest conversations are really tough, but I like those resources and places to start. That's a great suggestion. So, aging in place professionals, you said there's a lot of community events and they can go online and look for those or look at yours, map or look at our website. But what other type of organizations and resources for people that are listening could they Google or look for?
So the Area Agency on Aging is a great one. So they're local and they're a great place to start. Also, Council on Aging, if you are local, you can be calling those organizations, Mountain Aging Partners. We are doing that information and resource. So give us a call and we'll help connect you with resources. Those would be the top ones that come to mind.
Wonderful. Those are great resources, absolutely. What other services do you offer through your business, Mountain Area Partners? You mentioned Meals on Wheels, I believe, and you mentioned adult daycare?
Yeah, so these are programs. Meals on Wheels are programs that really make a difference of someone being able to stay at their home or not. Same with Adult Day. So Meals on Wheels, I think people think it's just about the food, and there is an aspect of that, but there's also safety checks and human connection. Those daily and weekly visits can make a real difference in someone's life, either socially isolated and just being able to have someone in their community that's seeing them. It's also a volunteer that's going out and, like, noticing what's going on with them. So, if someone was delivering, meals to me and I come to the door and I'm wearing my pajamas and that's not like me to be wearing my pajamas, that just prompts the question, "Oh, are you not feeling well? What's going on?" And maybe it's, "Oh, I can't pay my electricity bill." Maybe it's my wash machine's, not working. Maybe there was, like, a small flood. Maybe I am having, some confusion today and, what didn't remember to eat yesterday. It's a small little check, and then hopefully that volunteer that's seeing that person and seeing me in my pajamas is going back to the office and connecting them with their social workers. So I went out to Elizabeth's house today and, she's not doing so well. There's some things going on. Our social worker can go out and make a visit and assess and get inside the house and see what's happening if that person is looking for that support or can be making that phone call, maybe calling families. Oh, Elizabeth's been wearing her pajamas for the last week and she doesn't want us in the house. Someone needs to go out and check. So, Meals on Wheels, it's not just food, it's not just nutrition. Adult Day is program in that it's not just for the person that's attending, it's really also for the caregiver. So I talk about how the fact it's hard enough just for me to be taking care of myself and all the things I need to do with, making sure I'm eating right and getting enough sleep and hydrating and cleaning the house and going to the gym and all the things, right? And nevertheless having to take care of someone else. So sometimes Adult Day is really there for the participant who needs to connect with community, needs a social engagement because they have cognitive and physical issues. Or maybe it's for the caregiver who really just needs a little bit of respite. And this is part of their plan to age in place, right? They're not just doing it on their own, but they're doing it with a group. We also have a community dining program that's very similar to Meals on Wheels as far as the outcomes, but it's folks that can drive and get out of the house. It's not just nutrition. There's a social worker that goes to that program every week and just kinda checks in and maybe notices, "Oh, Elizabeth's wearing her pajamas to congregate dining. Something's going on," and investigating that. And then that last one is really the information is that helpline of just call us if you're an older adult in Henderson or Buncombe County, and we'll help you connect to services.
Wonderful. So if there is a adult child that's not living in the area and they come home for a visit for whatever reason and they see some warning signs, what would some of those be for warning signs for the adult child to see? And what actions or thoughts would you share for the adult child to do while they're visiting their parent and seeing some changes?
Yeah, so anything that seems kinda different is probably like a sign. So, right, like and I'll go to the pajama, example. If, your mom was always the type of woman that got up and did her hair and was dressed to the nines, and now, she's staying in her pajamas all day or until 1, it's not just because she's aging, so don't assume if things are different, it's just aging. There's maybe something going on underneath that. And maybe it's, oh, I dressed, to the nines for 10, 20, 30, 50 years and now I'm done. Okay. But maybe it's an indication of something else. Weight loss is also a big indication. And then really, just looking around the house, like what's different? What doesn't seem like my mom? What doesn't seem like my dad? What seems off? What seems odd? And then asking, being a curious scientist and trying to get to the understanding of what's happening. Depression, not responding to phone calls, mood changes, all of those things could be an indicator that something mental health is going on or physically is going on, is changing. And I think the next thing you asked about is what do you do with those? So the
Mhm,
first thing I would do is I would, make a an appointment with a physician and just make sure all the vitals or make sure blood work, make sure everything's in line, see when the last time, your mom or dad went to the doctor. Are they going to the doctor regularly? Are they okay sharing their health information with you, getting that set up? So going back to that first question you asked around
mhm.
getting, being a healthcare power of attorney, making sure you have access to that information.
That's wonderful. I think what you said really means a lot is for the adult child to get involved, to go to the primary, to learn about what is normal and what meds they're on and what their quote normal process and daily looks like. So you can tell what is different and what is kind of off or maybe a clue or a sign. That makes a lot of sense. So families come in and they could see some of these differences and some of these, uh, what did call them? Some of
Changes?
these changes. Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. We could see some of these changes. So I go to the primary doctor with my mom, and we're having the conversation, and she says, "Nope, I'm staying here." How do I have a conversation with her to say, "Well, let's assess the house. Let's assess your medications and your social and how you can age in place." What are some good conversation starters that the adult child could have with the parent and to help them understand that it takes much more than, "Oh, I have neighbors who'll help with that," or it'll be fine, it'll just work out." How does someone start that conversation?
It depends a lot on the parent. So you're gonna have different approaches with your parents. So just really trying to connect with who they are and how this conversation is gonna work best for them. And then, just sitting down and just starting to ask questions as to what's working in their life, what's important in their life, are there health concerns? Are they, having enough social interactions? Are they seeing friends? What friends are they seeing? So big open-ended questions is like a great place to start, and building some trust. This is a really hard question because there's so many things. There's so many dynamics and families, and so it's really hard to answer this in any concise way because it really depends upon who you are and what you're bringing to the relationship and then who your parent is and what's important to them. But just I guess the big one is, "Hey, mom, what's important to you? What do you want aging to look like? How do you want this to happen? What can I do to help you in this?" And then starting to throw some of those hard questions. Well, what happens if you can't drive anymore? And, it's helpful sometimes if you can there's someone in common, like, Betty Sue isn't able to drive anymore because of, whatever reason. That can happen to us. So what would you do? What can we do to get ready just in case you can't drive anymore? What's important to you? So it's just really sitting down and starting it, and that the conversation project. So you can print out scripts. They'll give you lists and lists of these open-ended questions to start with, and start just which ones do you think would work with your mom or your dad? Which one are they gonna be open to? And maybe it's not you that has it, like, maybe you have to have another sibling or a niece or a nephew or a neighbor or a pastor or a priest or someone else if your parents are gonna be better able to talk to somebody else.
Those are great points, and I love the point that you mentioned about involving siblings or other family members, that it doesn't have to be all one person. And I think, like you said, the conversation starters of how to have that conversation and how to come up with a game plan, because as we both know, if you don't have a game plan, that is the plan, is there's not one. And I think that's one important piece that we always have that we just need to talk about. What other pieces of wisdom or thoughts would you have to share with our listeners and readers of how to age in place and how to help your parent or loved one, or even yourself, as you mentioned, remain independent longer?
2 things. One, I think it's just bringing the lens of knowing that we're an ageist society and trying to see that and embrace that and uh, not have that impact your plans or what you're gonna be doing as far as aging in place. I really do like that worst case scenario. It doesn't mean that's what's gonna happen or but there's sometimes tough decisions that need to be made, so that the transportation one is huge, right? We're not all probably gonna be able to live out in the country and on, 1-acre plots, and some of us are maybe what's gonna work better for us is to move closer in town or maybe move into a condo, maybe move into a one level. So some tough decisions sometimes have to be made, and I think that's what the advice that I would give people. And what you said was really perfect. Either you're gonna be in control and kind of driving where this plan happens, or something's gonna happen and the plan's gonna happen to you. So
Yes.
you're gonna
Yeah.
fall, you're not gonna be able to get upstairs, you're gonna have a broken hip, and so now what are you gonna do? Now what are your kids gonna do? They're gonna make quick decisions for you, and you're not maybe gonna be able to get back into your house, and you don't wanna be in that kinda situation, and so, yeah, just sitting down, having the tough conversations, and making the tough decisions, and making sure that you're bringing, like, what needs to be said. I guess that's the other is being brave about it too, is being brave about what needs to be said with, "Mom, I know people don't drive until they're 102. I know that's your
Right.
plan, but that's not what happens. Let's come up with a way that this feels okay for you. Let's talk about it."
Wonderful. That's great advice, absolutely, and I love having a plan and discussing it and having those hard conversations before you have a crisis, because when you get into that situation, as you and I know, and we see often, is a crisis happens and then they have to react, and that's when the parent or the loved one may feel they don't have any choices because they didn't have those hard conversations. Those are great points.
I remember, this was a few years ago, but there was a woman who called me, and she was probably in her 60s, and she was calling about her mom, who was in her 90s, and her mom had fallen and was getting discharged from the hospital, and the hospital was saying, you know, she can't be living alone, she can't be staying alone, she needs help." And I spoke to her daughter for an hour and a half, and her daughter kept on saying over and over and over again, "We just didn't think something like this was gonna happen. We just didn't think something like this was gonna happen." And in my head, I can't, because 'cause I'm in this world, I cannot imagine how you didn't think something like this was gonna happen. Some of us, yes, live in our homes our whole entire life independently and die peacefully in our beds, but that's the minority, that's, like, rare, that's not what happens to the most of us. Most of us have a health event, a significant health event as part of our aging, and that means that we need to change what we're doing. And the daughter, I mean, she and this goes back to that aging and being prejudiced against aging, or aging is scary, we don't wanna look at it. She genuinely wasn't looking at it. She did not wanna look at it. She did not wanna think about her mother's mortality, about what could happen, about maybe she didn't wanna move here, maybe she didn't want her mom to move in. So instead, she didn't look at it,
Wow.
but it happened.
It does. Like you said, it happens, I guess, because we are in this field and we do talk about it. And I've had those conversations with my mom about the what ifs. And she's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, it's only going to be fine if we have a plan. Like a vacation doesn't happen without a plan. Retirement doesn't happen without a plan. We plan everything. We need to plan this next chapter. And so I think that's great advice. Absolutely.
The last thing I would say on that is
Mhm.
there's also this understanding that some people are not gonna plan, and some people are not gonna do what they need to do to age in place. And so we don't have to take all of that on too. So everyone, has made their own health decisions. So, smoking, drinking, eating 3 Big Macs a day, not exercising. Everyone is making these decisions for themselves on how to take care of themselves the best they can. And if someone's not doing that and someone's not planning, and I would also look at how much you have to take on and change their whole entire change their whole entire life because they didn't make all those decisions or doing that making that plan. I don't know if that really makes sense, but there's that middle
No,
way.
it makes perfect sense because not making a plan and not being healthy and being intentional is a plan that they're choosing to not take care of themselves and not plan ahead. And that if you're giving 100% of yourself and you don't have anything left, then yes, that makes perfect sense to me. Absolutely. And that's a great, reminder for us adults or caregivers, adult children or caregivers, is that we do need to be realistic that they may choose not to have a plan. And by doing so, that's what they're choosing. And you can only control, quote unquote, so much. And if they want to remain independent, then it's their choice to make that plan. It's very well said. Very well said.
It's another hard choice from the caregiver side of how much am I gonna step in and do and fix and take care
Hmm.
of for someone
Exactly.
who's not doing that for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today. I love all your insights and what you have to share. And I just think it's so neat that you talked about the book being mortal?
Mhm.
Yes. And it was so neat because you, Elizabeth, mentioned that, and also Jesse mentioned that exact same book. And so I love when I'm talking to the experts and they come out with resources, and when you hear the same message kind of over and over from different voices, it's so reassuring that making a plan, making small changes, and taking care of yourself is so important, and it's a conversation we all need to have, and lean into to have better support and resources, and that there are community resources like yours out there. But people have to be willing to ask those hard questions and have those hard conversations before there is a crisis. And so thank you and Mountain Aging Partners for having these conversations. And if you have any more questions for Elizabeth or for Carolina Living Choices, please visit us online at carolinalivingchoices.com and let us know what you're thinking and what questions and conversations you want us to have next.